Chair now recognizes the gentleman from North Carolina, Mr. Harrigan.
Mr. Chairman, thank you, and to both of our witnesses, thanks for your testimony today. And General Cavoli, I never thought I'd say this, but I absolutely echo the comments of my two Navy SEAL colleagues here in expressing well wishes for your retirement. General Cavoli, I've got a couple questions for you today. One of the things that you testified about is that this really is an industrial war and that we're behind in industry. Is that correct?
This is an industrial scale war, sir. It's using a lot of old-fashioned equipment that requires heavy industry. And when we look at our own ability, yeah, we need the ability to produce more weaponry more quickly.
And would you also agree that this is a technologically different conflict as well?
Yeah, it is, sir. There's a very interesting mix of legacy equipment and high tech. And it really seems that the side that's able to combine those two advantageously and then out-adapt the other side's countermeasures and countermeasures, that side gains the advantage for an enduring period.
Is it your understanding that 80% of the Russian soldiers who are being killed in the Ukrainian conflict are being killed by FPV drones?
Yes, I have seen those figures, sir. I think it's probably pretty hard for us to make sure we're accurate on those, given given our ability to be there and count and everything. But it's certainly well over half, and it's certainly a large number, and it's a number that has increased steadily over the course of the conflict.
And I would say that these low-cost, high-impact systems are fundamentally rewriting the rules of the battlefield. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, the equipment, Congressman, that is software defined, where a greater part of its capability is defined by its software. Those are super easy and super inexpensive to modify and adapt. And so you can take a piece of hardware, and by manipulating the software, you can stay ahead of the enemy's countermeasures. It's a remarkable thing we're witnessing on both sides. The Ukrainians have proven especially adept at putting engineers down at the lowest level, observing what the soldiers do with the equipment, making modifications, and putting it right back in the fight. It's a big advance.
Thanks for that. And just generally, when I walk into this room, I don't walk into this room as a Republican. I hope my Democratic colleagues don't walk in here as Democrats. I know sometimes we all do, but I walk in here as an American. And I think however we feel about the Ukrainian conflict, particularly as a former special operator, that I think it would be unwise to not learn the lessons of this conflict. And one of the concerns that I have, particularly as we've talked about our defense industrial base being behind, the difference between high-cost, exquisite capabilities and low-cost, ubiquitous capabilities, and the capacity to actually build those capabilities. One of the concerns that I have, given the fact that 80% of Russian soldiers are being killed by FPV drones, is that we have little to non-existent capability in our country to produce these drones. Would you agree with that statement?
Well, we do have some capability, sir. I know a lot of people are working on it. I think as it goes to the U.S. military, I'd refer you respectfully to General George, the Chief of Staff of the Army, who's working very hard to distribute smaller drones at the lowest level and to proliferate them across formations. He's got a program that he calls Transformation in Contact, where he uses brigades that are deployed either into the Pacific or into Europe to accelerate his distribution and his deployment of these drones. I know that he needs some changes in the way funding works, but I'd leave it to him, sir, on that.
And I think I'm aware of these, but I think we're talking about thousands quantity, and am I correct in saying Ukraine will produce approximately 4 million FPV drones this year?
Yeah, that's right, sir.
So we are very far behind that level of production capability for something that is achieving decisive impacts on today's battlefield.
Right. They are producing drones like most countries produce ammunition in massive quantities for expenditure.
Should we be doing the same thing in the United States of America?
I believe we should be doing that, and I believe we are increasingly going to be doing that. It's not my responsibility to speak about those programmatic, sir.
Thank you, General.